Hello, good morning, and welcome to Circle of Love. And today we are going to be, I'm so excited, creating something that is inspired by an artist online by the name of Art by Melanie. Art by Melanie, I love, love, love her work. And I've created a link to as well in my post. So if you need to go check out more of Art by Melanie, absolutely, you should do that. And I found Art by Melanie on Instagram originally, and you can also Google Art by Melanie, and you'll find lots of works by her. But today's creation for Circle of Love is going to be an inspiration, be inspired by Art by Melanie's wonderful person collages. And so I'm calling these lovely portraits, like personal portraits or loving portraits, because it's going to give us a chance to really see ourselves in a loving light. And so on the spirit of Valentine's month, we're just looking for some self-love, okay, opportunities. Always good to have some self-care and self-love, never enough. So here we go. We're going to practice that today. Let me show you what I have on my desk. Okay, for supplies. By the way, this is the example that I printed from Art by Melanie, and just love, love, love all the details in here. I'll talk more about that as we go. I'm starting off with a blank sheet of paper. You can use any kind of paper for this. Really, it just matters what medium you're using for coloring. Speaking of coloring, you could use watercolor, you could use crayons, markers, anything for the background. Today, I'm going to be using paint. And I'm going to just start off with these two colors. I might add more as I go. Also, if you are going to want to use paint for anything else later, of course, you're going to need some brushes. Okay, you might need a palette. You might need some water and some napkins. That might be helpful. But what would really be helpful also is finding a photo of a face. So here you see I have torn out this magazine page of this face here. And what I'm looking for is a face that is personifying the expression or the feeling that I want to represent myself with in this creation today. Okay. And so I really like the expression on this woman's face because I feel like it's a powerful one. Some people might see that and interpret it as maybe solemn or sad or too serious. But for me, I like the way that it's kind of reflective. And it's also just a very, almost like a matter of fact kind of expression. That's how I interpret it. That's how it comes off to me. So what matters is how it comes off to you. That's all that matters. So today we will need a photo of a face or image of a face. Here in Art by Melanie's example, you see this face is turned sideways. That's also a cool effect. I created already an example of my own, which turned into a different type of style than Art by Melanie. I love Art by Melanie's much more delicate and vintage kind of look. That's so, so cool. She's so talented. But mine is here. It's a very quick rendition. And here you can see I used this expression, which I, at that moment, at the time that I made this, was a way for me to demonstrate and depict just kind of like satisfaction and contentment. Okay, so you see, you can really express a variety of different emotions and feelings for yourself today. You'll also might enjoy having some collage paper or scrap paper or patterned paper or decorative paper that might come in handy. But if not, you also can just utilize magazine pages. That will be also an option today. And even though I have this patterned paper that I collected here for today, I actually might change my mind and I might utilize magazine pages instead. Okay. Lastly, it may be helpful later to have some type of a marker or drawing tool just to create some of the outlines and other areas of detail. Okay. All right. Wonderful. So we're going to get started today. And the first thing that I'm going to do is just color my background. That's the first thing I'm going to do. And remember that I'm using paint, but you can use whatever you want. Here is where you can use watercolor. You can use marker. You can use crayon. You can actually start off with some type of patterned paper if you want to, like this as well. That's also an option. Whatever feels right to you, whatever supplies you already have, that's what we want to use. We don't want to make this too complicated. When we make things too complicated, it kind of takes away a little bit of our creativity and our spontaneity. And spontaneity is something that is really, really great ingredient for creativity. Okay, so keep it spontaneous. There we go. I'm just continuing to spread this paint until I filled my background. And I chose this color. Actually, I was surprised that I chose these colors for myself here. So it's new, it's different to me. They're not colors I usually use. And I did that on purpose because I am trying to see things in a new light. I'm intentionally trying to shake up my world. Okay, make some changes that maybe I've been wanting to make for a long time, but maybe also some just new and random and spontaneous changes to see what happens, because sometimes change does help us. Okay, and that's okay. All right, so I am continuing with my spreading. Just, you can see that I'm just adding more of this paint as I go in those areas that I haven't done yet. But remember, again, I'm using the acrylic paints, these acrylic cheap, super cheap, okay, acrylic paints, but you can use whatever makes sense to you. For my demonstration, I like the idea of using these acrylic paints and doing this scraping method because it dries really quickly. Okay, and this is just for my demonstration. Since you have time and you can take as long as you want on your creation, you can use other mediums that take longer to dry. All right, so here's what I have so far. And this is the fun part. This is where we start to apply the face that we have collected, okay? Now, I talked about, I think in my supply list, trying to find one that's black and white. Actually, it's not required. It's not essential or critical. You can see that mine here is not black and white. If you do find one that's black and white, I think that just contributes to the nature, to the look, of this kind of collaged together feel. Here's my other example that I created already. See, this one is black and white. And so it just gives us an interesting effect, okay? However, if you can't find a black and white one, no problem. If you actually are using your own photo or photo of yourself, that's even better. However, you see here, I'm not using a photo of myself, okay? Because I'm just using what I have. All right. What I'm gonna do now, and one thing I forgot to mention as far as supplies go today, I did put it in my supply list, but I forgot to mention scissors. And so if you don't have scissors to cut neatly or tidily, then tear. Absolutely, you can tear as well. And if you can't tear, absolutely, you can just glue down the whole thing as it is. It actually will all work. It's really okay. So I could have, if I didn't have scissors, if I couldn't tear, I could simply have just glued this whole thing down and used the body as it is and worked right on top of the body as well. That's always an option, okay? We can always modify as we go. So here what I have is the face or the head, kind of a funny kind of look, but we're about to complete it, okay? I want to show you how in Art by Melanie's example, there are not a lot of details. There are no, areas where we see specific arms coming out or necessarily shoulders or anything like that. I love that. I really love that approach. It makes it so simple for us. And here in my example that I created, this is just, again, a really simple, almost like a tall triangular shape, but then I cut the tip of the triangle off here for the neck area. So you can make this super simple, and that's what I'm gonna do. I also want to point out here in Art by Melanie's example how she's used actually a piece from a landscape. So this used to be a magazine page that had a big landscape with, like, I think some water there in the background and this tiger standing there. I just love that concept. So clever, so creative, so inspiring. So I am going to look through my magazine here and I'm going to see if there's something that I can find that I can use as imagery for the body area. And I'll tell you what, I think I'm going to just flip through a couple more pages just to make sure. But there's something about this image that's just really, really, I don't know, capturing me right now. So I'm going to use that, and it happens to be the back cover. It's okay. I'm going to tear off the cover. Here we go. Don't be afraid to use the cover. And I'm going to use that actually as part of as my body. Okay. So what I need to do is now determine the shape that my body will take. And I'm thinking that I'm going to keep this super simple and I'm just going to, using my marker that I have right here, I'm going to draw out for myself here. Let's see. Something that's kind of like a shoulder area that comes out a little bit like this and then just comes downward. Yeah, I'm not going to bother with contours, or anything like that. I'm just going to bring this out a little bit again for the shoulder area here and then just straight down. That's what I'm going to do. You can do whatever shape you want. And here you can see where I drew that. Okay. All right. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut this as well. And right now it's longer than I need it. So I'm definitely going to have to do some trimming at the bottom. Okay, so I'm liking this so far. So you see how much longer it is than my paper, right? So I'm gonna have to do some trimming. And I think that I will trim right around here. I'm just gonna go straight across. I'm just gonna estimate. All of this is estimating. There we go, and kind of piecing together, okay? And once you have the head and the body, you're gonna want to glue it down. And that's another thing you'll need. You grab my glue stick. And go. And again, if you don't have glue stick or you don't have glue, you could use tape. You could just get really, creative here with whatever else will help it to stay together. Whatever works for you. There are no rules at all. I'm going to actually place the body first with the glue. And I am placing my body right here in the middle of the page, mostly because I want to have room, lots of room around the body to add additional features. Okay, I'll show you what that looks like later. And now I'm going to go place the head. And that way, when I do position the head, I'll be able to tell kind of what angle I want it to really sit at. And it doesn't have to be perfectly straight upright. Just whatever expression makes sense to you. I think I'm going to put mine upright for this. I like that kind of almost stoic kind of look right now. Yeah. Okay, wonderful. So we've got our base. Now these are the fundamentals. This is where from here you are going to be you're going to have the opportunity to add other features if you want to, or accessorize yourself if you want to. Like, for example, Art by Melanie here added a hat to this person. You could also add additional elements in your scene or on your page. So this could be almost like a moon, possibly a sun. But right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on these wings. Now, you don't have to add wings. I just love the concept of the wings because it really does help to bring this, for me, this feeling of lightness, of power, of freedom, almost of magic. And that's one thing that I want to focus on today for myself. And one way that I'm going to apply some self-love, okay, is just focusing on all my positives, all the positives. So to do that, I'm actually going to start out by adding some kind of a light color in a wing-like shape. Here in my example, in this example, what I did is I simply drew the edges of the wings. And then I went in later and I painted in with white. Okay, now you see here the effect that, or the look that I'm going for in this one is almost cartoony, right? If you want a more gentle or delicate effect, maybe start off with the surface an entire color. So I think I'm going to go with, and since I'm using paint, I'm going to go with this lighter, almost peach color. It's kind of like skin color, actually. I like the concept that I could have wings that are that color. It's like, it's thinking about the wings being a part of me, being more a part of me. And so here's where I can shape those wings as well. I might make mine more, I feel like I want to make them almost butterfly-like, because the idea that I had for this imagery inside of my body and all that green and all those trees growing everywhere was growth. And, if anything, I can say for sure, I have been doing a lot of growing, and I'm proud of my awareness of it, and then willingness to allow those lessons, those unexpected at times lessons, to guide me and lean into what they have to teach me and what it is I really need to be learning right now in my life. So, sometimes things happen to us and they can feel really, difficult or challenging, or can really come off more as a struggle. In reality, for me, when I think of them as lessons and things that are here to help me in some way, to teach me something that I need to be paying attention to, um, it's much more of a positive experience and almost like a silver lining. I like that concept. It helps me. It makes it more sense to me. It's more of it brings value to the experience. Okay, so here goes. You can see I have one kind of filled in. And this, again, you don't have to be very detailed about this. You don't have to be, feel like you have to have very perfect edges or details or anything like that. I'm working quickly. And really, the goal here is just to get an effect, to create an effect, a feeling, a sensation, capture that certain feeling or effect or some sensation of yourself in a certain way. I also like the idea that when we can't, say, use our own selves exactly, for example, here, this is not a photo of me, that we can borrow and we can use other images as symbols as well. It doesn't have to be exactly us. Excellent. So now I have this base color for my wings. And so far, I'm excited to see how they're feeling to me, like almost like an angel standing still. But I like the idea that, this angel doesn't have to be always totally happy looking or so joyful looking. That she's a strong angel. She's a quiet, still, strong, pensive, thoughtful angel, in the sense, and not angel in the sense that she's, uh, always supposed to be perfect little girl, but she's an angel in the sense that she has transformative powers and she has magical powers. That's what it means to me. Again, you're always looking for the meaning that it has for you. Okay. All right. What I'm going to do next is I'm just going to let this dry. I'll let the wings dry anyway. And then I'm going to start either with my marker, but remembering that if I use my marker, I'm going to get more of this almost cartoony kind of effect. Now, for this creation, it worked because I added all of these other elements in the background that were also very bold. So it worked fine. If you're looking for something that's more delicate, like the style of art by Melanie, then you want to consider maybe using either a much finer pen, for example, for these outlines here of the feathers, or you might want to consider just using other colors, other mediums, okay? I'm, for example, going to switch to a darker color of paint, and I'm going to use that instead right now, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and add some outline, and I'm almost feeling like I'm not sure that I want to have the feathers. I think I want to go ahead and go completely with the concept of the butterfly. I'm going to make my own designs in there. Okay. So here you can decorate yourself in whatever way makes sense to you. What do you want to represent you? Okay. And here's where you can also apply some fantasy, right? What if you could choose any new magical power to have, what would it be? And maybe try to depict that in here somehow. Okay. What I'm going to do now, because the rest I think is pretty self-explanatory, by adding elements, all the different elements that you want, is I'm just going to work on actually my background a little bit more, because I want to show you some other cool, I think, features of art by Melanie's work that really help to bring in some magic. And then I'm going to invite you to continue the rest on your own if you're watching by recording right now. Some of the other elements that I'm talking about are these speckles that are kind of like, they're like, I feel like it's like fairy dust or something like that. And then she also includes this tiny little star. But you can see that there are some black speckles and some white speckles. I love, love, love all of her variety. And so you can apply speckles if you have a pen, like a white pen or another type of pen. You can apply those speckles that way. You can also apply speckles using, if you have paint. Okay, I happen to have this white color of paint here, so I could do dots. This is also where you can, if you want to water down your paint, okay, you can use watered down paint and do kind of like a splatter effect. That gets a little messy. So if you're not in a position or prepared to get messy, okay, be careful with that. But I'm just kind of tapping a little bit and I'm adding some speckles there. I like that idea, like that feeling, okay, that really does start bringing in some magic to my, here we go, to my page, okay? There's no limit here. There are no rules. There's really so much that you can add and create and personalize and individualize here. Lastly, besides those kinds of details, you could also incorporate words or writing, especially if there's something you're really, really trying to capture. It could even be individual words. It doesn't have to be a sentence. It doesn't even have to be legible. For example, here in this art by Melanie example, we see that she's written in a way that it's kind of gotten faded, slightly blended into the background or into other areas. And so we can't read it, we can't understand it. And it really just ends up adding a little bit of just design, okay, and a design element. So you could add words that make, that do stand out, or words that blend in. Here I added with washi tape this word for my other example that I created, because that's just what I was trying to capture here in this moment. Okay, so there are, again, no rules. Also notice that if you did not use an image from a magazine for the body area, you also can go in and add your own details into the body area using pen, marker, or any of those kinds of supplies. Okay. In the background, I just remembered that I did want to show one more option. Here in my example, I use some stencils, and I might do that also for this new creation. And the stencils, might be a nice just detail that you figure out later, what kind of stencil you want, and or if you don't have stencils available, then you simply can just go in and draw these patterns or these designs into your background. Okay. Every time you add something new, think about how does it relate to the message or the general idea of you in this page. Okay. Excellent work, my wonderful ones. If you are watching me by video right now or by recording, I want to thank you for giving this project a try. Thank you for practicing self-love. And I hope you get a chance to finish this project. And if you do, as always, please send me a photo because I love seeing your work. Okay. Thank you so much for joining me. And those who are staying on live, please stay. And I will see you in just a moment. Okay. Have a wonderful day. Sending lots of love to you.